Again, 35 different industries, experts from each industry. We're talking about the challenges, we're talking about the hardship and the opportunities. Today, I have a great guest coming back to us, Shalini. Codispoti, thank you for coming back.
Thank you for having me, Gabriel. I'm so happy to be back.
So good having you. I mean, we kind of like started this journey together, and now look where we're at. We're way past like the 35 experts, but again, the industries is what's kind of holding us together. Later on this week, we've got a great lineup. We've got the do's and don'ts of social media, or talk about bling, gold, and silver. What can we do with it? Should you buy? Should you sell? How do you value it? Then we also have Feeding America, and we have another doctor coming on board about safely reopening. But man, it's just so good having these experts helping us through these times. If you want to join the conversation, text Expert35 to the number on the screen. If you want to join Shalini, text Expert20 to get Shalini. She is a lawyer both from Trinidad and Tobago and in Texas. So, oh wait, Tobago. Wait, there we go. I'm gonna get this. I'm gonna get this. I'm so excited. And but you're now an estate planner here in Texas, and we had a great show last time helping people through some of these challenges. But really, we kind of skipped the most important part: is what is an estate plan?
Well, I mean, that's I know a lot of people hear estate plan and they're thinking, oh my God, that's an estate. I need to own a lot, a big grand estate to be able to do an estate plan. Mm-hmm. That's a myth. An estate plan is really just a plan that you put in place for yourself that really it helps you and it helps your loved ones. It helps you in that in the event of your disability, you have a plan in place that you would be cared for. Who will make those financial and personal decisions for you. And in the event of your death, you are really providing for your loved ones. And so you're ensuring that there's a plan in place so that your assets would be left to people that you really care about and left in a way that's easy for them to access.
And you know what? Perfect timing for this question. What happens if you don't have an estate plan?
Well, if you don't have an estate plan, the state has one for you.
Oh, really?
And it's one that you may not like, so that your family members would have to go to court, whether they have to go and institute guardianship proceedings to be guardian over you if you were disabled, or if you die, the court then determines who gets your assets. So it's a very public process, and you'll have to go to get a judge to make those decisions for what's best for your family.
And I guess this is kind of tied in is why do you even need one? It's because if you don't have one, now you have all these other headaches.
Correct.
Right.
So, for me, it's just, and my entire motto is about keeping my clients' families out of court and out of conflict. Because when people die, we all know the conflict that could ensue with respect to making decisions. Unnecessarily that people are upset or they want assets or things like that, but sometimes you think that what's best for your family members, and another family member thinks that they know what's best. So it's all in your best interest, but the reality is that if you're able to do that planning prior to your loved ones, have it that much easier.
Well, and I think that's what happens is people react so differently, right? And especially when it's sudden, right? Exactly. And that's what's happening now. It's like if there's a lot of if you know something that is going to happen, you can have a little more time to plan. But when something's going like this, if you don't say your expectations properly, the families will fight, or they'll get upset, or they'll cry. But they can never be in agreement, even on something as simple as like, how much will you spend on the burial, or little things like that,
correct.
Right?
And with planning, you can avoid all of that. You can say, hey, this is what I want done. So you allow them time to grieve. That's a hard time for them.
Right.
A lot of people tell me that, hey, when their dad died or their mom died, that entire few weeks after their death feels like all a blur, right? Because they can't really remember. They're not thinking right. All they want to do is grieve.
Exactly. And so this is a plan that helps you it's a rule. It's in a pathway, right? Here's a great question from Jennifer. Is it complicated? How complicated is it, or how do you make it less complicated?
It's absolutely not a complicated process. What it does allow you to do is really sit down and decide how you want what your assets are, first of all, right? So you're kind of corralling everything that you own, all of your life insurance and everything that you have, and decide how best you want to allocate this so that ensures that your family is protected. For instance, you have kids. Why not take the time to just sit right now with your lawyer and say, hey, this is how I want my kids to be protected, especially minor children. People always say, hey, I'm, working class, I have minor kids, but we don't have a lot of money. We just have a house. We don't really need an estate plan. That's, too complicated right now. But the reality is that you do have minor kids. You can walk outside and never return home to your kids. And that's coming face to face with your mortality. And I know it's hard for a lot of people to discuss that or to even think about it. But, it's something that we must do. We've always heard about stories where, parents go out on date night, they get into a car crash, something happens. So what happens to their minor ones? So appointing, legal guardians for your kids is super important. And all it takes is some time with your attorney to get it done.
And that's a question, right? So what people are most worried about is like their mortalities. That's kind of what I'm hearing, right? And
especially now with COVID, right? People are coming face to face with their mortality. And, I've had a lot of clients reaching out to me, hey, I just want to get a will done, because they see the importance of getting an estate plan in place.
So important, right? And I do hear what I keep hearing from you is, man, there's all these unknowns. Right? How can you appoint? You didn't call it a legal guardian. What do you appoint? What is it called when you appoint?
A guardian for your kids.
So just a guardian, right? How can you appoint that without an estate plan? Is there like a document you can just write, or what would be the simplest way, like very actionable for people to do like right now?
So you can, for instance, the last time I was on, we spoke about, doing holographic wills, right? Basically just writing out your will, which is just a stopgap, because without proper legal advice, that's just a stopgap measure, right? But it's something that you can do immediately. Similarly, you can list your guardians in there. And then an important thing is you may think, hey, I want this person to care for my kids because they have the same values that I do. And they would raise my kids in the way that I would. But that person may not necessarily be good with money. So you may want to appoint a different financial guardian for your children.
But let's back up real quick. I love that. I know where you're headed. So if I want to appoint a guardian, do I need to tell them? Do they need to sign the same document, or can I just appoint someone and like, hey?
You can just appoint them, but that's not my process. Definitely not what I would recommend, because you would want some buy-in from your guardian saying, hey, I'm leaving my kids for you.
Right.
By the way.
Absolutely. That's so interesting. Well, that was just, I hear that you may want to appoint different people. You want to cover all the bases. Correct. Right? And so that brings us right into this, the hardship, right? There's so many people unemployed. People are at home, right? How can these families take advantage? How can we as families take advantage of this time to make the best of it?
Well, right now, I think that it's the perfect time to get your estate plan done. Right? Because you have the time to sit, go through your records, corral all of your assets. You have time now to book a call with your attorney. A lot of attorneys like myself, we work remotely. We can do Zoom calls with you, set up a consultation, get in touch with your financial advisors, with your CPAs, with your families and with your business. This is the opportunity we have gotten, thanks to COVID, to be able to put our affairs in order, to really get our plan in place.
Yeah. And I think that's so important, right? Is none of us realize that we're underinsured, that we're underprotected, that and things change. We had the IRS guy, well, the accountant, Reggie, one of the experts on the IRS and tax, talk to us. It's like, this is what complicates somebody's life. It's like, man, something as simple as, oh, well, now I have a house, but I also now have a child. The child's going to college, and life moves so fast. Yeah, that what you thought you were protected for when you were in your 30s now is completely different in your 40s and your 50s. And so super, super important. Look, actually, I got a quick little shout out from Monique. Is like, people didn't even know that they need a different guardian for different things. Right.
Yeah. I mean, it may Maybe, and everyone's circumstances is different, right? It's not a one size fits all, and that's why I urge, if you have the time now, call your attorney, because while it may be you want different guardians for different things, for instance, financial versus a personal guardian, in some other instances you may have the same guardian for your finances as well as your children, for instance, or like in my situation, I definitely want my sister, who's a physician, to be my power of attorney in the event of my disability, to make all the healthcare decisions for me, as opposed to maybe my husband taking over the financial aspect of it. So there's so many different things that we can do in our own estate plan that we can get the best of everything, when it comes to providing for our disability and our eventual death.
Well, and this is a great question from Craig. Is like, how often should the will be updated or this plan be updated?
Laws change. I tell my clients this all the time. Laws change, and your assets change, right?
Mm-hmm.
I recommend personally updating your will or your estate plan, whether it be a will or trust, at least once a year. For my clients, I offer them a free review of their estate plan every 3 years. Right. That's just part of the package. That's what I offer to my clients.
You said every 3 years?
Yeah. At
so
the
minimum.
very minimum.
Perfect. 3 years. So yeah, and I believe it. Things happen, and now with COVID, you should change it now.
Yes, absolutely. As I said, we have the time now. Look, let's not just sit and binge on Netflix, right? Let's just utilize this time to really get our family's affairs in order.
Well, and just to kind of pitch the rest of the experts, right? You should talk to an insurance guy. You should talk to your health insurance. You should talk to your CPA. Like, this is a great time to really kind of tie in all those pieces and analyze it, because you're kind of like the business plan, right?
Absolutely.
For the whole family.
Even your asset, you own a house. Maybe I know that you had a home mortgage guy that was on the show.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Craig Levine, and he talked about you may want to consider refinancing your mortgage. Getting a better rate. This is the time to do it. You have the time to do it now. Use your time wisely. Absolutely.
So now, use our time wisely, right? My favorite part of the show. What are the 3 things we should do right now?
All right. Well, we spoke about this before. So the first thing we said, call a good attorney, one that you can have a great relationship with, because I do not believe that an attorney is an attorney who just prepares form documents for you and sends you on your way, right? It's someone who you want to have a relationship with, who's going to be your attorney for years to come. So find someone who you can work with. Talk to your CPA, your financial advisor. Get your hands on where your money is invested. Talk to your CPA in terms of how you can best plan so that you get the best tax benefits, right? These are all important people that you should be setting up consultations with and getting your hands on. The second thing I would do is to get your business, as a small business owner myself, get your business set up properly, right? We had a stimulus package that was sent out by the federal government, and a lot of my business law clients had trouble getting access to the payroll protection loans, for instance, just because they didn't have their affairs in order, right? They didn't have the proper accounting, and then we had to rush and go get a CPA for them, so if you do have a small business, get your business set up. And then my third thing is get your estate plan done.
Yeah.
No better time than the present. Just get it done. Stop procrastinating. A lot of people, I have so many clients who come to me and say, oh yeah, I started that process 3 years ago. I don't think I ever completed it. That's the problem with estate planning, right? It's never really that important, right?
Mm-hmm.
Until it is.
Right. It's a seatbelt, right? You need it for that day.
Exactly. So now that you have the time, actually get it done. Get those documents signed. Set up a plan in place in the event that something happens to you, that people know where to find your documents and know where to access your assets. Go speak to your attorney. Get that done now.
Amazing. Super timely. And I know you've got something coming up. You've got a webinar that you can invite people to. So I'm going to show that on the screen. Tell us a little bit about what's going down.
So every month, I'm having a free webinar. I am a firm believer that when you know better, you do better, right? So that I try to educate my community on estate planning and how they can do estate planning that would provide absolute protection for their loved ones and protection for themselves. All right, we've had so many people, we've heard about elder abuse and things like that. So my goal is to educate my community on how they can do estate planning to protect themselves and their loved ones. So I do this webinar once a month on different topics, different aspects of estate planning. It's just 30 minutes long. 30 minutes of your time that you're investing in yourself and learning something new. And then I also have a Facebook Live every Wednesday, Coffee with Codispoti at 10:30 a.m. Central Time, where you can hop on. You have questions about estate planning, hop on, ask questions.
If you want to join either one, text Expert20 to the number on the screen. You'll get direct access to it. You'll join her Facebook live stream as well. Shalini, thank you so much for coming on the show again. It's
Thank you, Gabriel. It was awesome. Thank you.
I mean, and I can't believe it's been not even that long ago, and it's just so long as well. So.
And I must say, you've been doing such a great job at this, really educating our community, getting the right experts to speak to us. I mean, I've learned so much from your show, so thank you so much for doing this.
No, and thank you. So timely. I'm going to leave your graphic up. But again, come back on the show. We'd love to have you. You give us such great advice, and it's important. And once a year, but in fact, now, I think that's what I heard from you right now. This is the time to not just talk to this expert, but talk to the whole group of experts that you can have around you. And love the guardian idea. Hey, you can have different guardians for different parts of your life, and that's your goal. Is
a lot of people now going through saying, hey, I'm going through some financial hardships, and you're having people for instance, I know that you're having Danny Shaftel on the show, talking about gold, and they buy gold. You have jewelry, you have assets sitting around that you may need access to immediate cash. Daniel can educate you on that. So you have just a host of really great experts who can really help us all in this time.
Yeah, and I think Barbara Blades has, if you don't have a liquid asset, she can appraise it, and then that goes into your plan. And so, I mean, all these experts are kind of coming together on a plan, and then you just brought it together really well. Again, Shalini, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for being on it. We'd love to have you back soon.
Thank you, Gabriel. Have a great day.
All right, thank you. All right, guys, I'm going to leave her graphic up, but we've got, like she said, Danny Shaftel Diamond is going to talk about gold and silver. We're going to talk about feeding America and how to make sustainable plants and have these pods that we can donate. It's just such an amazing episode. But join us tomorrow. We're going to do the don'ts of social media, especially now that everybody's, I have all this time to do social media. So join us on Expert35. Thank you for being with us today. I'll leave up her graphic, and I'll leave up the information on how you can join her webinar.
We educate during difficult times. We collaborate at Expert35. This is for a better tomorrow and a better today. Let's come together, and together we will find a way. You got questions, we got solutions. You got problems, we got resolutions. Visit Expert35.com. No need to worry, just remain calm.